My name is Becker, and I'm with the Chicago chapter of the World Can't Wait, Drive Out the Bush Regime.
What is the position of World Can't Wait right now regarding President Bush?
We think that he and his administration and the whole program that they have put in place in this country and the world constitutes crimes against humanity and war crimes. And we feel that it's urgent that the American people stand up and drive out this regime, including by impeachment. The actions of this government have long since passed the level of high crimes and misdemeanors. And the question is whether or not that's going to be, we as a people are going to demand that. We feel that World Can't Wait feels that 2008 is too late. What can Bush do in his remaining 17 or 18 months in office? He could bomb Iran. He could appoint another Supreme Court justice to further erode what remain of any civil liberties and the rule of law in this country. He can continue with impunity the crime of torture, which this administration has declared to be legal and which Congress concurred in by passing the Military Commissions Act. We do not hear any of the mainstream candidates for presidents denouncing and calling for the repeal of any of those crimes.
You said including impeachment. Is there some other way to drive Bush out of office?
Certainly. Nixon resigned before the articles of impeachment could even be voted on. I think that the demand from the people can be met in any number of ways. It could even come to pass that Republicans could go in there and demand that Bush has got to go in order to save any future of their party. If the cry from the public, the repudiation of this program as a whole, both the war, torture, the forced dispersal of tens of thousands of black residents from New Orleans, the murder that's on the hands of this administration, of the people of New Orleans, for both crimes of commission and omission against those people. All of that, if there were a demand from the people of this country, I think that politicians would find a way to meet that demand.
To be clear, does your organization have a position on using violence or force to drive Bush out of office?
Our organization is all about a political movement at the grassroots to repudiate the program of this government. That's always what we've been about. We've organized forums and debates and marches, peaceful marches all over the country. On October 5th of 2006, we had actions in over 240 locations around the country. That's what we're about. That's the only thing that's going to make a difference. It's not about any individuals. It's about what kind of country and world do we want, and we have to take the power to change that.
Right now, people have a choice of whether or not to be working for the election of individuals who will replace Bush. Do you think that people should be putting their efforts into those electoral efforts, or are you thinking that they should not be putting their efforts into those efforts?
We feel that we have to have an independent grassroots movement to repudiate this whole program. I don't think that every Democrat agrees with Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi. Or Rahm Emanuel, closer to home here in Chicago. I think that there are Democrats who are trying to do the right thing, and they are such as Barbara Lee, and they are being isolated by their own leadership. Right now, I think that to put our efforts into 2008 is, as we said in the New York Times yesterday, too late. We have to have a movement to repudiate the whole program, all of it. And I don't see any of the so-called electable candidates taking on that program at all.
So are you saying it doesn't matter who the next president is?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying what matters is what we, the people of this country, demand. The civil rights movement never elected a president. That's not how civil rights happened in this country. Those college students who sat in Greensboro didn't say, we want this or the other bill passed. No, they demanded their rights. That's what ended the Vietnam War. well, it was the Vietnamese people that defeated the U.S. Army, and in this country it was a huge mass movement, mainly against the Democratic Party. They were not about electing someone, by and large. And we feel that if you look at history, it's always been the people who have determined the future. That's what our call talks about. History is full of examples where people had right on their side and fought against tremendous odds and were victorious. And it is also full of examples of people passively hoping to wait it out, only to get swallowed up by a horror beyond what they ever imagined. And I think that waiting, as we put it, waiting for a savior from the Democratic Party is a recipe for disaster. Looking for a savior is a recipe for disaster. We have to take history into our own hands. The future is unwritten. Which one we get is up to us.
As we speak today, do you know what the latest poll numbers are as far as the Americans' support or popularity of President Bush and of the Democratic Congress?
The LA Times released poll numbers a few days ago that showed Bush at his lowest ever, but it also showed that support for Congress was actually a few percentage points below the favorable rating for Bush. And I think that speaks volumes of the disappointment felt by millions who thought that they were electing a Democratic majority to Congress to stop the war. Now they have seen that Democratic majority vote Bush more money for the war than he even asked for.
What explains that?
I think we all need to be thinking very deeply about that. I think that the Democratic majority, or I should say the Democratic leadership, is not in this makes me nervous. Can we stay? The Democratic leadership is not united to stop the war. I think they are more aligned with the United States, including this administration's strategy of taking over the Middle East, of maintaining the U.S. control and expanding the U.S. control of the Middle East, and perhaps having a different strategy, although I don't think they're really clear on that strategy, for doing that, not for actually disengaging, not for answering the demands of millions of people to bring the troops home and get out of there.
Do you see that any of the third parties have any better answer?
I really can't speak for that. I think they can speak for themselves. I know that there's reports that Ralph Nader might be running. But again, our position in World Can't Wait is that 2008 is too late. We have to develop a grassroots movement now to reject and demand an end to this whole program. On that basis, whatever that means in terms of electoral politics will be up to other people. But right now, we have to take the future into our own hands.